Fit after 60 is a fairly new concept because demographically, we have never been living longer than we have until this point, and it's only going to get longer. Hey all, I'm here in my living room. I just had a workout. It's very convenient for me, part of my home workout regime. I can watch a bit of TV while I'm working out. And I started to reflect upon one question that I get from friends, family, and colleagues. How do you do it? And that it is, how did I get fit? And how do I stay fit? And I want to tell them, well, there's no easy answer. And there isn't. And there's no silver bullet. But one thing I can tell you is that I have been in the best shape in my life. I'm hitting personal bests in bench press, deadlifts, and other forms of exercise, and I feel great. I'm at the point where the belly fat, that's the hardest part to lose. But in terms of build, I tend to look a little bit better side on. But let's step beyond the thirst trap of just showing a bit of skin, and I'm gonna go over the 5 tips that I have incorporated into my life to help me stay fit after 60. Stay tuned. I turned 60 in 2024. We're filming this now in 2025. I have now dedicated the last 10 years towards trying to get myself to this point here at 60 so that I could look towards the rest of my life to be on this fitness journey. My fitness journey started a long time ago. It started, I would say, in 1987. I was in university, it was the mid-80s, I was in my early 20s. As a gay man, I let you know that AIDS was very prevalent in that era, and I had a lot of issues with coming out. And at 23, I took a break between my undergrad and grad, and I went back to Trinidad where I decided to work on my body, as well as I had a great time for that year. I highly recommend if you can afford it, it's great. But what I learned from that experience is taking the time and dedicating myself to fitness really helped me. So at that point, I was again over 220 pounds, and I got my weight all the way down to 148. I didn't like how I looked. I was maybe too skinny at that point, but I proved to myself that I could lose 70 pounds. But that particular era was very important because I learned good behaviors. I did intermittent fasting over that period, different variation on it. I fit in daily fitness, and I dedicated the time to make sure that I ate properly and I exercised. There's a lot less awareness as to what fitness looked like in the 80s. But for about a decade after, my weight didn't go up that much. I settled in at around 160, and by the time I met my then partner, and in 1995, and we moved to Alberta in 2000, my weight was still at about 180 at that point. So I put on a bit of size. It didn't look bad. I was quite happy about that. One thing that happened when I was here is I started to drive more, and I took on a lot more responsibility. I built a company, and I did not pay attention to my health and fitness, and my weight ballooned again. I just said that to let you know that I am vulnerable to anything that you may have experienced. And I realized that if I had to fix myself, it's going to take a long process. So there are no fads, there's no diets, there is no quick fix to getting where you have to go other than understanding your body, and it's a complex process, and that it's going to take a long time for you to get to that point. But behavioral change is difficult, and it can only be done in incremental steps, and that you have feedback on to understand what you need to do to move on to the next step, where constant improvement is your goal. So here I was at 50. I was close to 225 pounds. I was a beast, man. You know, I was working my ass off, the company was going great, and I realized that I'm not where I want to be physically. And over the course of the last decade, there's been a lot of change in my life. I got a divorce, I have wound down the business, I faced a lawsuit. There's a lot of crazy stuff that has happened around me. But over the time, I figured out how to get to this point. As I say, it's about cracking the code. And everybody's got an individual code, something that works for them. I'm gonna give you my 5 tips that I found really helpful to me, that helped me crack my code on how to be sustainably healthy, fit, and ready and full of energy to take on the next challenge. Let's get going. First tip is think incentives. Everybody says you should have goals. It's great to have goals, but goals are finite. You know, if you know you got a race in 6 months, you're gonna train for that race, and after that, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna run another race? Well, if you think about that in terms of incentives, let's reframe goals to incentives, is that the incentive of racing and competing and training towards being race ready, the incentive is that you could race more. So how do I reframe what my incentive is to stay fit? Well, at 75, I want to look good naked. I still want to have a sex life. I still want to travel. There are things I'm going to look forward to. So that tells me I got 15 years right now to stay in shape or keep working on getting into better shape to know that when I'm at 75, I am fully independent and I'm not going to end up in a senior's residence where I am just looking forward to the day I die. That's not going to happen. So my incentive is to stay as independent and as strong as possible for as long as possible. That is and the incentive is to keep doing all the things I love to do. I'm going to augment that point with a 1.5. Connected incentives is having an advanced care directive. I can't emphasize that enough. If you're at this point of your life and you don't have advanced care directive, get one done right now. Here's what it did for me, and here's how it helped me reframe my incentives to stay fit and healthy. When you have to fill out how, given any particular catastrophic state to your body or your mind, you now have a decision process laid out of what you want done should you be in that state. After I did that, I felt a burden lift off of me. I realized that because I now know that when the inevitable happens towards the end of my life, it has now freed me up to understand and appreciate how much life I have left. And it's up to me to have the best quality of life I can for that remaining period. So the incentive is, while I'm alive, to keep expanding my skills and the things I want to do in my life and to grow as a person. That is a wonderful incentive. Number 2, focus on one thing at a time. When you start a fitness journey, some people feel it's too daunting because to lose 20 pounds or to run a 5K race, there's a lot of steps involved. Here's what I did. In 2014, 10 years ago, after I turned 50, I had a wicked back spasm. I was flat on my ass for a week. And I said to myself, this needs to change. And I think the best gift I got from my ex was a certificate to go to a fitness trainer. And I started with the fitness trainer with the one thing in mind, fix my back. And in trying to fix my back, I started to learn that there are other things that I could do to augment my health. But once my back was fixed, I started to take on, well, that was great. Now I could figure out how I want to bench press my body weight. So it opened up new doors to what that next step of the journey was. But behavioral change, as I said before, takes time. And I felt that each subsequent step took me towards my goal. So other things involved in the process were understanding how to eat. That became another step in the process. And then fixing my personal ecosystem in terms of what my life looked like, who got divorced. That was also part and parcel of that. And also how to manage through COVID. Again, we went through a pandemic in this time. And how do I stay committed to that point? So each step of the way, I found focusing on one thing at a time helped me stay committed and working towards one thing. And when I did it, it gave me the ability to move on to the next. If you have that target in mind, you'll get there and you'll figure out what that next target is. One thing at a time. Number 3, staying fit is the cheapest and most effective medical intervention you can have in your life. How many of you out there over 60, how many medications are you taking right now? I tell you, I'm doing 3 prescription medications. 1, I'm doing a blood pressure meds to lower my blood pressure, because again, hereditary conditions being what they are, I gotta do that. Statin, not for cholesterol. I fought my cholesterol down. It's for my heart health. And I'm a guy over 60. I keep a little bag of Cialis in my drawer in the bathroom. 3 pharmaceuticals. How many pharmaceuticals are you using? I set myself a goal to try to use as few pharmaceuticals as possible. And I'm finding that the more that I dedicate to fitness, the less the need I have to use pharmaceuticals. I'm blessed that way. I know other people out there, they have genetic conditions or that they've suffered from accidents that they have to address. But the more that you're able to dedicate yourself to exercise, the lower your cost of healthcare. Number 4, discipline and consistency. This is the hardest part. I hate to say that. It really is the hardest part. But there are crutches and pillars that you can have along the way that will scaffold you to the next stage. Because I was a data scientist, really what they used to call a marketing researcher in the past, but things change. I was very data driven in what I did for work, and I started to realize I need to practice what I preach. So I've got the fitness apps. I keep tabs on all my key vital statistics. I know what my cholesterol is. I know how my kidney function is. I know what my prostate function is. Guys, that whole prostate thing, we could talk about that too, but fitness and a healthy sex life does contribute to that. And the only way that you enjoy those things is when you get to that point where you have consistency and discipline in what you're doing. I find another thing that really helps is I do this every morning. I just get on the scale, and if I'm in with my target range, I'm good. I'm happy for the day. It's a very simple data point I use to help me understand what I'm doing in my discipline and consistency to stay on track, to keep that incentive that I have in mind of what my 75 looks like, to keep that path going as healthily and as effectively as possible. Let's get to the last one. Tip number 5. Oh, that's 10, 5. Tip number 5, novelty and community. Why have I lumped novelty and community together? One thing that when you are at 60, you can fall into your old habits. And your old habits are what keeps you from going forward. So novelty is new things. New things if it comes down to places you put yourself. Have you ever been to that restaurant? Have you ever done that hike? You can go and do new things all the time. But also novelty comes down to exercise and putting your body in new and unique positions. Because again, as we age, we have to work on things like our proprioception, knowing our body in space. So using all the other 4 elements and including data to know and the feedback of how you feel, you know what novelty is doing for you in a slow and steady way. But community is also important. As a guy, at 60, I'm not gonna lie, I know a lot of guys who are basically antisocial and they don't really go out much. And they're very good at one thing and they're genuinely nice guys, but they a little grouchy. Go out and meet new people. Go and meet people in your community at the cafe, but also meet people with common interests. Or if you have an interest that you haven't, that you've always been curious about, do it for a short time. A couple summers ago in 2023, I was in Ottawa and I had some time because I was preparing for our private dining events and I took up archery. I know, it's weird, you know, like what's with me doing archery? But it was something different. And it also taught me very quickly, man, archery is hard. It's easy to pick up, but it takes a long time to master. It's like golf like that. Similarly, go and experience new things because it helps the brain. When you are exposed to novelty and you're in a community where that novelty is manifesting itself, or in a community that you're familiar with that is extending your ideas, you are constantly growing. If your brain is engaged, it makes the rest of the engagement with your body even easier. So when you start to think about it, think about the 5 points I just raised. Lose your shame. Lose whatever guilt that you have about yourself and get moving. Pick a simple thing that you want to fix about yourself. Or just say, I'm going to get a dog and I'm going to go and walk. And that's what is a great start. Just think about that one thing to get you going. Think about your ecosystem. Think about becoming consistent, and also think about that intervention, which is as cheap and as effective as any other drug that you could take that you think is going to move you on to the next phase. Fit after 60 is a fairly new concept because demographically, we have never been living longer than we have until this point, and it's only going to get longer. we could focus on the quality of the life that we are going to live while we still have life. And that's what I'm focused on. So, fit after 60 works for me. Is it going to work for you? Let me know in the comments below. What are you doing in your path towards what you're going to look like and what your life is going to be at 75? And what are the tips that you're following for yourself that you can share with the group here to let us all know how we could improve our fitness journey on our path to going out there and taste the world?